here on the telephone, 'cause we've no idea when we're coming home. Any place we wander to, any season we go through, I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Running round the world with you. When you smile, I smile too. How I ever made it without you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. I feel the weather changing, better get out soon. Don't let go of my hand, no matter what you do. Well, I'm here for you, through the thick and thin. We're on a winding road that never ends. Any place we wander to, any season we go through, I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Running round the world with you. When you smile, I smile too. How I ever made it without you. Heaven knows, heaven knows.
We were just becoming friends. You took my hand for a dance, and I have loved you ever since.
Storm is on our heels and we'll be swept away. We better run, 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 honey, what you say? Gonna be alright if you're by my side. I can't believe you're mine. Oh, Colorado, where will we go? Oh, Virginia, I wanna show you. Anywhere I'll take you there. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Colorado, where will we go? Oh, Virginia, I wanna show you. I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. I'll be fine as long as I'm with you. Heaven knows, heaven knows. Why would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world inside?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, your heart is a sun, and it shines as it opens.
Where your heart is the sun, and it shines as it opens.
Yeah, your heart is the sun, and it shines as it opens.
Where your heart is the sun, and it shines as it opens.
Yeah, your bones are the earth, and they sing with the mountains.
Where your bones are the earth, and they sing with the mountains.
Yeah, your bones are the earth, and they sing with the mountains.
Where your bones are the earth, and they sing with the mountains.
Why would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world inside?
Why would you look outside yourself when you have
Say, why
inside?
would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why would you
inside?
look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Your
inside?
mind is a space that creates your horizon.
Well, your mind is a space that creates a horizon.
Your mind is a space that creates your horizon.
Well, your mind is a space that creates your horizon.
Say, why would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why would
inside?
you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why
inside?
would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why would you
inside?
look outside yourself when you have all of the world inside?
You know, you can feel it when you look inside. You know, you can feel it, and it's no surprise. Say, why would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why would
inside?
you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Say, why
inside?
would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why would
inside?
you look outside yourself when you have all of the world
Why
inside?
would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world inside? Inside, all of the world inside.
Remembering you standing quiet in the rain, to rap for your heart to beat, kissed as the sky fell, holding you close. I always close in your fear. Remembering you running soft through the night. You are bigger, brighter, wider than snow. You screamed at the make-believe, screamed at the sky. You finally found all your courage to let it all go. Remembering you falling into my arms, crying for the death of your heart. You are stalwart, so delicate, so lost in the cold. You are always so lost in the dark. Remembering you, how you used to be. Slow down, angel, so much more than everything. Home for the last time. Slip away quietly. Open my eyes, but I never see anything. Only I know the right words. Could have held on to your heart. If only I thought of the right words. Couldn't be breaking apart all my pictures of you. Been looking so long, these pictures of you, but I never hold on to your heart. Been looking so long for these words to be true, but I'm always praying for my pictures of you.
It's Adrian Churchill, don't be afraid. It's Adrian Churchill, don't be afraid.
And on that note, on behalf of the Schellenberg Churchill family and from Shakespeare Dallas, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jenny Stewart, and I have the privilege of serving as the interim executive and artistic director at Shakespeare Dallas, where I worked with Adrian for 16 years. Looking out at all of you in this room tonight, I just want you to know that I'm deeply moved. Adrian loved his community fiercely, and I know he would be so touched, and he would definitely be very delighted to see this room so full of people who loved him right back. It is truly the honor of my life to have been asked by Adrian to organize his memorial. Over the last 18 months, we had many conversations about this day, what it might feel like, who all would be here, what moments would unfold. I want you to know that everything you are about to see and hear today, Adrian had a hand in. This is not just a memorial, it's his show in every single way. Adrian was my friend, he was my colleague, and in so many ways, he was my soulmate. We bonded over the hard parts of our childhoods, over the shared experience of making our own families in this world, and over our mutual love of theater making. Our work at Shakespeare Dallas was demanding. It often pulled us away from our own loved ones. But in the middle of all that, Adrian and I built a family of our own. The Churchills are cemented as part of my heart, and when we became a part of each other's lives, I will always treasure Jo for introducing me to Adrian and forming our bond in the first place. She did that long before he came to work for SD, and Jo, I'm eternally grateful to you for that. Thank you. I want to let you know, and many of you know this, Adrian was brilliant. He was a genius. He was so funny. He was effing funny. He was stubborn as a goat and so infuriating, but mostly he was deeply kind. He could light up a room with his wit, and he could ground you with his honesty. And I will miss him every day for the rest of my life. But more than anything, I will cherish the gift of having known him and of being loved by him. In your program, there's a QR code where you can read in detail about Adrian's remarkable life. Believe me, there's so much more that could have gone into it. But here today, since brevity is the soul of wit, I'm just gonna give the highlights. Adrian Spencer Churchill was born in Montreal, Canada, to English immigrants. A very young Adrian was taken to a British pantomime performance, and there he discovered that the theater was where he belonged. As a young man, Adrian worked to jumpstart his theatrical career, and as everyone in this room definitely knows, Adrian only has one work mode, and that is tireless. His first professional onstage role was Messenger 1 in Richard III, set him up for a lifetime of Shakespeare. But as luck would have it, it was at that theater that he met a young Joanna Schellenberg who was in rehearsals upstairs. Though their love story would not begin for years, a thread was tied between them. In the decades that followed, Adrian wore many hats in many places, both literally and figuratively, but perhaps most famously at Sneaky D's in Toronto, where he served, depending on the night, as a DJ, a bartender, a bingo host, and of course, he was a burlesque MC. Of course he was. It was at Sneaky D's that Adrian infiltrated Toronto's punk scene as the token actor amongst a crowd of world-class musicians, some of whom became lifelong friends who are here today and watching on the live stream. And these include his ride or die besties, Daryl and Sean, who you just saw rocking it in the newly formed ASC Memorial Orchestra at the top of the show. You know, ASC, Adrian Spencer Churchill. We get it, we all get it. Adrian appeared on stages across the globe as his theatrical career flourished. After years of crossing paths, Jo crashed at Adrian's apartment for 2 weeks for work in 2001, and she never really left. They were engaged on Jo's birthday in 2005, and in the span of 18 months, they were engaged, married, and pregnant, and in that order, people, okay? Then they were quickly ensconced in a new home in Dallas. The light of Adrian's life, Miranda, named for Prospero's daughter in The Tempest, which was Adrian's favorite play, was born on February 8th, 2007. Adrian made his stage debut in Dallas in 2009, and he took on meaty roles at almost every major theater here. His body of work includes numerous films, television shows, and voice work. Teaching, particularly at Booker T. Washington, brought Adrian great fulfillment. Adrian began working as production manager at Shakespeare Dallas in 2016, and he quickly became the backbone of the company. Adrian possessed a wide variety of passions. He loved reading, listening to music, writing poetry. Pure joy came from working on his truck and his motorcycle. I'll miss the sound of that truck so much. He had a soft spot for animals, and as a young boy, he was known to rescue and care for all sorts of creatures. I hear even a duck at one point. John, is that true? Adrian was also a remarkable chef, and his favorite holiday dishes to prepare were lamb and tortilla. Breaking bread and sharing space was sacred to Adrian. But what Adrian cherished the most of all was being dad. He hand-sewed many of Miranda's Halloween costumes, he baked birthday cakes from scratch, and he took great pleasure in making specialty coffee and breakfast in bed for both Joe and Mira. Adrian is survived by his wife, Joanna Schellenberg, and their daughter, Miranda Churchill, his brother, John Churchill, his mother-in-law, Joan Schellenberg, his sister-in-law, Rena Schellenberg, his brother-in-law, Dr. Raphael Martin, and their children, Alexandra and Xavier, and a chosen family of friends, colleagues, and artists all over the world. John, Joan, Rena, Raph, Alex, Xavier, Mira, and Joe, I want you to know that every person in this room, everybody watching on the live stream at home, and so many more who couldn't be with us today, feel and understand your profound loss. We are all grieving alongside you. We are holding you in our hearts, and I promise you that together we will honor Adrian's memory and carry his spirit forward in our lives. Thank you all for being here today. Let's get on with the show.
All right, you got another nail? Uh-huh. Well, by God, I think she'll do. Oh. God bless America! What the hell happened here?
All right, look. I can't shut the door because it'll keep the angels away. So you're just gonna have to stop construction.
Well, never mind, Haskell. We can prop it up with these bricks.
Well, why are you doing this in the middle of the night anyway?
It needed fixing.
Dora.
Yeah, well, these bricks are the answer, Haskell. You're gonna get a much solider base with them underneath there.
Please welcome Jeffrey Schmidt, Artistic Director at Theater 3.
The whole time? Okay. Adrian was one thing to me and something different to everyone in this room. But today, with each story told and memory shared, our perception and understanding of Adrian will expand. And how can our love for him do anything but deepen because of it? And maybe getting to know everyone else's Adrian softens just a little the grief over all the stolen opportunities of knowing him longer and better. I'd like to talk about my Adrian and his ability to time travel. Oh, you heard me. And you might be thinking that, well, theoretically, it's possible, even Einstein's theory of relativity with its logical application of speed and gravity, it has its problems. And time dilation is 100% a real thing, but the practicality of getting a human to move that quickly around the sun, I don't know if we're ever going to solve that. Don't get me started about wormholes. And despite what a lot of you theater nerds believe, Doctor Who is a television show. It's not real. None of that stopped Adrian. The Adrian I knew, my Adrian, always had one foot in the present and the other somewhere else, whether it was the past, the future, an alternate reality. He was an inexhaustible fount of knowledge on everything. An old world recipe, he knew how to make it, but then could regale you on its cultural significance. Literature, the way he could opine on literature made you think that he knew all of these authors personally. Now that I think about it, maybe Shakespeare and Marlowe didn't write those plays. Just throwing it out there, Music, come on, people. I mean, he never really understanding the significance of why you do things this way instead of that way. I'm pretty sure Adrian was standing on the first stone that Archimedes lifted with a lever, and then offered him a glass of wine to celebrate. He once gave me an old Burberry fly fishing creel and a Burberry pouch that holds fly fishing lures, or flies, as we call them. And I'm not sure if I can describe this the way it happened in the moment, but the way he talked about this, the time in which they were created and who was using them, it was almost as if it was his own memory of that. And he delivered these, he drove these over to my house in that truck. I loved seeing him in that classic, vintage, old Peepaw truck. It was one of my favorite things. It always made me smile. And I hope he knew that when he saw me smile, it was out of admiration and not bemusement for driving an old truck. And I wish I would have told him that. I don't think I ever told him that out loud, and I wish I did. But he belonged in that truck just as much as he would have belonged standing in a pastoral river in England with a Burberry fly fishing creel over his shoulder, just as much as he belonged on the Senate floor in ancient Rome. Adrian, the time traveler. He belonged in any age, in any era, except maybe now where knowledge and compassion are ridiculed and devalued. Of course, I'm mythologizing him a bit. I know that, and I hope it's okay, and I hope we continue to do that. Those who knew him best and loved him most are the keepers of the truth. The good times and the bad times, and you can't have one without the other. The rest of us, this legion of friends, we are here to share his stories and his memories and share them with each other, and then share them with people who might have never met Adrian. And as we do that, these stories, they're going to veer from the truth a little bit. They're going to get grander. They're going to get funnier. His generosity is going to reach deity status. And while he may not have been the guy responsible for feeding the masses with the loaves and the fishes, I'm pretty sure he was there to recommend a pinch of salt, a little olive oil, maybe some oregano, and then steamed over an indirect flame. That's a beautiful piece of fish. That's what that is. We all should be so fortunate to be celebrated with exaggeration. And turnaround is fair play. For someone who made his way through life telling stories on stage, backstage, and off stage, I can think of no greater tribute. Love to Miranda and Joe and his family and his greater family. Love to Adrian. Thank you.
Please welcome Tina Parker, co-artistic director, and Tim Johnson, managing director at Kitchen Dog Theater.
We can be together. Adrian fucking Churchill. I mean, for reals. Everybody say it with me. Adrian fucking Churchill. And apologies for the bad language on a Sunday, but we're in our church and let's look at who we're celebrating, y'all. And I'm from Kitchen Dog, so that's how it goes. Our resident punk rock theater fairy, I like to say. For those of you guys who aren't in the theater world, first off, congratulations to you. I want to meet you afterwards. The week before a show opens to the public is 100% Hell Week, as we all know. The sets are rushing to get finished, to get painted. The tech cues, they're not there. The actors are in that funky place, losing all the work you did for 4 weeks, losing their lines, busting costumes, and a quick change, so on and so on. Opening night is pressing on, looking at you down a barrel, and you're like, oh my God, oh my God. And inadvertently, somebody's gonna come up to you and say, don't worry, the theater fairy, they're gonna sprinkle the dust on it. It'll be there, it'll get there. But the thing is, all of us here in the Dallas community, we had a real life theater fairy, right? In our own community. A salty, storytelling, tea-spilling, Falstaff, Mr. Fix-It-All, Master Chef Canuck on a motorbike, which we just saw, complete with a treasure trove of tools, which we all have used, wicked sense of humor, and soul-healing hugs. Our Adrian. Man, how lucky were we? I want to take a quick poll, all right? I'm sorry, I'm a little off the chain. All right. Yeah. Raise your hand if you have worked on a set built by Adrian or by Adrian's tools, or had been fortunate to share a stage as an actor with him. So raise your hand if you've done that. Yeah. Great. Raise your hand if you have been the recipient of one of those aforementioned hugs. Yes. Raise your hand if Adrian ever fixed anything in your house, your car, your theater. Most of the time, you didn't even have to ask. You could just think about that your drain was clogged, and he'd be like, knock, 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 it's Adrian with the tools. And you're like, oh, great, thank God. Raise your hand if Adrian helped you figure out how to articulate all the parts, and I mean all the parts, of an anatomically correct dead body puppet to dance in sync with a stagehand. Oh, yeah, that's specific. Yeah. Sorry, they might be specific to just me, Tim, and Cindy Godinez. Well, raise your hand if you've ever had one of those great long conversations with Adrian over coffee or a beer or Facebook Messenger even, about theater, about food, about 80s music, debate over, Billy Idol's early career. Mine was soup, dumplings, Tom Waits, and Canadian playwrights for me personal. Raise your hand. Yeah. Where you felt like the only person in the room? Amazing. Tim, do you want to talk about your story, or? Yeah, come on in. Okay. Don't worry, I'll come back. I don't know, I have a bad segue.
Hi, I'm Tim.
Yeah, this is Tim.
I first met Adrian in 2018 during Kitchen Dog's production of The Royale. I had seen him on stage a few times before, and of course knew his name. The name Adrian Churchill is ubiquitous with Dallas theater. I'd see Adrian as I left work out on the smoking porch, desperately running lines every night. Most nights, I'd just nod and say, have a good rehearsal, and then walk as briskly as I could to the car, hoping to not get pulled into another conversation with Adrian on whatever was on his mind that day. And then one night, Adrian pulled up in this enormous motorcycle and parked it in front of the theater. And the image of it was so incongruous with what I thought I knew about him that I slowed down just enough to ask him about the bike. And that was it. Game over. I was sucked into the Adrian Churchill orbit. I quickly learned that this lumbering giant of a man who drove a motorcycle and a peepaw truck was also wickedly funny, a serious foodie, married to the stunning Joe Schellenberg.
Yes.
Very well read, Tina.
Yes.
Very well read, Canadian, Adrian was full of surprises. Fast forward to 2022. Adrian had asked me to lunch a number of times, and there was always some reason why it couldn't happen. But this time he was very insistent and very serious, and he said he needed to tell me something. So I went and had lunch with him, and he said, I needed to let you know that I was just diagnosed with cancer and I'm dying. Preceding years to this, I'd grown closer into his orbit. He had come in 2020 to fix my shelving and hang a chandelier and rewire a light. And then out of that came a conversation where he said, hey, I think Kitchen Doug and Shakespeare and Theater 3 might be able to work together on something. And that turned into them renting space from us. So I continued to get closer and closer into his orbit. He became a regular fixture in my life. But the day he told me he had cancer was the day our relationship began. It was a friendship that began with an expiration date. And what a remarkable thing to me to initiate a relationship knowing that. From there, started meeting every 2 to 3 weeks for chocolate and to chat at Chocolate Secrets. And a few months ago, when Adrian asked if I would speak at this, I was somewhat surprised, given how long our relationship is. Many people here have known him much longer. And I asked him, I finally said, why do you want me to talk? Why me? And he said, I want you to talk about our conversations. And I've thought about it, and I think I've failed, because our conversations were about the theater and his love of acting and his profound love of the theater. And they were conversations we've all had, and they were just everyday conversations, and yet they were so magical. And I found in Adrian someone who had a deeply profound love for the theater. He was a true man of the theater. And his love of acting, and we didn't talk about you, we didn't talk tea, we just talked about the theater. And as I've thought about it, I think what he wanted you all to know was that he was a true man of the theater and his profound passion for it. And looking out, I think what's amazing is that you already know. You already know. Thanks.
If you raised your hands before, so see, I'm gonna bookend you here, Tim.
Thanks.
If you raised your,
It's a very good segue.
We're really good with the segues. We're rough. We're rough around the edges here at Kitchen Dog. If you raised your hand before, let's raise them again. I want you everybody to look around. If any of the questions, raise your hand, look around. This is the impact of Adrian Churchill. This is the lighthouse of a human that drew us all together. He connected us all. So we got our hands in there, so it's like we're swearing. Let's all commit right here, right now, to live our best Adrian fucking Churchill life and be here for each other. They often say, you can't take it with you, but I'm going to quote the old Tom Waits in honor of our conversations. He says in a song called Take It With You, the children are playing at the end of the day, the strangers are singing on our lawn. It's got to be more than flesh and bone. All that you loved is all you own. So let's take him with us and let's bring it to the world. Love you.
It's getting very avant-garde in here tonight. And just in the nick of time, because please welcome Bruce DeBose, Artistic Director at Under Main Theater.
Okay, here we go, Adrian. In addition to being a kind and generous artist and constant friend and influence who would always lend his hand or advice when you asked his help, Adrian was someone with a full understanding of the worth and meaning of the art of theater and its importance in our cultural scene and ecosystem. Whenever I saw him in the audience, I was eager to speak with him after a show, as his insights were always profound and keen, with a complete understanding of the work at hand and the intentions of the writer, director, and the production team. Adrian could not only fill you in on details of the play's production history, but also interpret its artistic intent and influences, as well as detail its poetic, metaphysical, and psychological underpinnings. Yeah. He could always also determine what positive words to give a performer to keep you motivated, as he knew well how much hard work and dedication goes into every performance. At Undermain, there are two plays in particular I remember his performances from. One was his performance as Judge Brack in Hedda Gabler. Judge Brack manipulates Hedda's husband Tesman and meddles in his affairs while seeking intimate time alone with Hedda. In normal hands, the role would come off as a creepy and repellent character, but Adrian brought such great depth and charisma to Brack that you came to understand his intentions and wonder why Hedda seemed so revolted by him and why she was so mean to him. Yeah. Another role Adrian fulfilled for us at Undermain was in a reading of a play by Parker Davis Gray titled Incarnate, which will be produced this fall at Second Thought Theater. In it, he played a character many others would be afraid to touch, a man who creates a holding space for a woman he abducts and imprisons in an effort to understand the fear and apprehension experienced by someone facing the possibility of her own annihilation. But through Adrian's performance, you not only understood the character's motivation as a way of dealing with his own deep grief over the loss of his father, but you also felt moved to sympathize with him. At other companies, I remember his ability in portraying characters with complex motivations was clear when he played Pisanio in Cymbeline at Shakespeare Dallas. Adrian's portrayal was sincere and heartfelt in his devotion, making an indelible impression and leaving me with memories of that production which continue to linger. A play I remember him in at Kitchen Dog Theater was The Royale by Marco Ramirez, concerning turn-of-the-century American boxer Jack Johnson, where he played Johnson's manager and promoter, a character with shady and dubious intentions. But as Adrian played him, you could not stop watching him. His portrayal pulled you deeper into the play. As I came to value his opinion and ideas on plays, this extended into my work as a director. Once, when directing a new play at Undermain titled Feeding on Light, Adrian was present as we got into preview performances to support Joanna in her portrayal of the writer in the play. I noticed him returning to one of the performances and asked him if he'd like to join me in my usual location when I directed Undermain, which is standing and sometimes pacing along the back wall of the theater, directly behind the audience. A great place to observe not only the play, but the audience as well. At one point in the play, the three women are talking while listening to music, an LP emitting the quiet recording of Leonard Cohen's song, Suzanne. I worried that the vocal singing of the lyrics would conflict with the dialogue being shared by the three actresses, Joanna, Jenny Liddell, and Shannon Kearns. So sound designer Paul Simrod and I created an instrumental version of the song. Near the end of the song, we placed an angelic sounding chorus of female voices, oohing and awing to complement the gentle strumming of the guitar. I suggested the volume be set very low so the actresses wouldn't feel a need to compete with the music. After seeing the scene the first time, Adrian suggested that the volume should be increased, as he said, "That song carries memories and associations with it for every person and will elevate their experience with the play. Besides," he said, "even though that song is a great Canadian song from a great Canadian poet and songwriter, that song belongs to everyone because it's such a part of us. Oh, and turn up those angels." We did as he suggested, and that became a cathartic moment that helped elevate the story and the characters, giving the audience an ineffable moment of shared consolation. I'm going to miss having Adrian with me. On the back wall, behind the audience, as I silently pace back and forth, but he'll be there in my heart and in my mind. And I'll be listening for his wisdom. And now, in Adrian's honor, I'd like to offer from John Donne's collection of holy sonnets, Sonnet 10. Death, be not proud. Though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go. Rest of their bones and soul's delivery, thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well, and better than thy stroke. Why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. All right. Vaya con Dios, my friend. Oh, and turn up those angels.
Whoa! Oh, yeah. Satisfying.
Yeah! You're gonna break the fucking back. Here, honey, do you want to stand up?
No, oh no, he's got it, he's got it.
You look like one of those little...
Why don't they ever print?
Legal trade, huh? All right, I feel like I've had too much fun with this.
Please welcome Parker Gray, Managing Director at Second Thought Theater.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Parker Gray. For those of you who do, I'm sorry. It is an honor to have been asked by Adrian himself to speak today. I can't imagine why he thought or what he thought by asking me to speak, but if there was anyone who believed in us, it was Adrian, and that's all we've ever wanted. I believe I first met Adrian almost 10 years ago in the summer of 2016, where most of us undoubtedly met him out at the park in my first professional show. I cannot remember exactly when we met or what it was like, something I've been kicking myself over these past few weeks, but I do remember that it immediately felt like he had been part of my life the whole time. 10 years doesn't seem like a long time, but Adrian only ever needed a moment to make a lasting impression on us. Whether it was constantly fixing the leaking or broken AC in the bunker, replacing the weather-worn boards that we tread upon every night, creating that niche prop, or simply watching from the top of the bowl, he was proud of his work, and he was proud of us. He was proud of you. Side note, when Second Thought needed to have a spear for our production of Antigone, I could have bought or sourced them from like the numerous theaters that have them on file, but I didn't want theirs. I wanted an Adrian Churchill spear. He made me 2. My favorite thing about Adrian was his earnest honesty. He was going to tell you how he felt about your work, and it was never cruel. It was honest, and it was always specific. Because unlike many a professional theater critic, he actually knew how to talk about the work. I apologize, that's low-hanging fruit, anything for the joke. But the sentiment stands. When you received a compliment from Adrian after he watched you act or saw one of your designs, you can bet that he always saw that one tiny nuanced thing that you did that you were secretly proud of. He saw those moments that no one else saw, and he'd let you know it was good, that he was proud. And you'd keep those little Adrian comments tucked away in your special Adrian box. I remember when I did the 24-hour Hamlet project out at the park. By the end of the run, Adrian had seen dozens and dozens of actors tackle that fun challenge of a play, and he came to me at the end of the process, and he told me that, apart from Joe's performance, mine was his favorite. Nobody could beat Joe, even if we wanted to, and we don't. As you know, Adrian was also an extremely gifted actor. To me, Adrian was always the handyman. So when I saw him act for the first time at Kitchen Dogs the Royale, I flat out said, "That's not fucking fair. You either get to be Dallas's premier technical and production manager or an elite actor. You do not get to do both. And in my case, sometimes it's neither." But Adrian had it all. And actors and audiences from Toronto to Dallas bore witness. So in 2022, as you heard Bruce say, when my first ever play was to receive a professional reading at Undermain, I needed a leading man. I called Adrian. I called him first. Adrian was the first person to breathe life into my words, and in a play about grief and creation, death and reincarnation, he brought life and beauty, depth and meaning. He brought it all. And I watched him every night, much like Bruce, while I hid in the back, my body eating itself from the torment of hearing my own words out loud, and I was in awe. From what cosmos did he draw his power? From what deal with what devil had he made his pact? He taught me as much about life and living that week as he did about my own play. And what I didn't know at the time, that many of us soon found out afterwards, was that Adrian knew his fate whilst he was doing my play. And months after, when he told us all, and when he told me why my play had meant so much to him at the time, it suddenly all made sense. Why Adrian was so captivating. Adrian had so much life to live, and he was putting it all in everything that he did. Those cosmos that I was sure he drew his power from held no power to the actual life that he had in him. And just as he taught me about life in that week, for the next 3 years, he taught us all how to live. No one ever asked him or demanded that he serve, but he did it anyway. And over those last few years, he held our hands and taught us how. He taught me how to be a little less scared of death, that if life is a gift, then a moment with Adrian was Christmas Day. And so those 10 small years that I knew him, immeasurable. How lucky we all are. The world premiere of my play that Adrian helped me create opens this October. And Adrian was the first person that I told before we publicly announced it, because we both knew that he couldn't do it. He then sent me a long message, and in his philosophizing way, proceeded to still teach me things about my play that I never knew. Or at least I now had words for, Adrian's words. And while I'm sad that I can't hide in the shadows this time while my body eats itself and watch him stitch me back together, I know that he'll be there. And I know because he told me. There's a leak in the ceiling. I'll be in the room somehow, he said. And he's right. And as I sit in the back on the opening night of my play and hear the words that he helped breathe life into, he lives. Him and my father. Him and my father both on either side helping me watch this play that's about them. Because while I don't know what an afterlife looks like, or if ghosts exist, because I want to be haunted by an Adrian Churchill ghost, I do know that legacy exists. And as long as someone who knew the love and life and what love and what life that Adrian gave, he lives. For every actor he ever built a spear for and gave a kind word to, he lives. In the walls of every theater he helped paint, or in the boards he built that we tread upon, he lives. In the ears of every audience member from Canada to Dallas, he lives. In every nail and every screw in virtually every theater in the Metroplex, he lives. In every drain he helped unclog and every tire that he helped change, he lives. There isn't a place from here to there that is untouched by Adrian Churchill. And what a gift that we get to see him everywhere.
Bob Spanks here. I want to bring you in on what it's like to have a Spanksian Christmas. First off, it involves bourbon, scotch, pears, and poinsettias. Just so you know, poinsettias are poisonous to cats.
Unfortunately, Blake Hackler, who's the chair of the Division of Theater and the head of acting at Southern Methodist University, couldn't be with us today. However, he did send us some words to share with you. So we'll share those with you now.
In 2021, while we were all still grappling with how theater might survive the pandemic, Bruce DuBose at the Undermain generously agreed to a wild idea I had to adapt Hedda Gabler and film it. 1 week of rehearsal, 3 days to shoot the entire play. Why I thought audience were clamoring for a film of Hedda Gabler, only heaven knows. But Bruce said yes, and off we went. I had never worked with Adrian, but the year before I'd worked with his wife, Jo. Intelligent, powerful, guarded, and luminous. I was both intimidated by her and an instant fanboy. At opening night, I met Adrian. I had, of course, heard of him. How could you work in Dallas theater and not? Meeting him confirmed everything I'd heard. Warm, effusive, handsome, genuinely curious about others, quick to praise and utterly without pretense. I was dazzled. So when it came time to cast Hedda Gabler, I knew immediately I wanted Adrian as Judge Brack. And thank goodness he immediately said yes. The rehearsal was a whirlwind. We had no time, so everyone had to arrive prepared, more than prepared. Adrian was pitch perfect from the very first moment. Smooth, charming, cunning, intelligent. He led the way for the rest of the cast, a constant source of encouragement and stories. Every rehearsal, I left marveling at the depth of his experience and the ease of his work. Adrian was the kind of actor you want in the room, the kind of actor who makes every room better, kinder. We finished the project, and of course, Adrian was superb in the role. And as often happens in our world, I didn't see him much in the next years that followed. The last time we spoke, we talked about working together again, perhaps in Uncle Vanya. I'm so sorry we never got the chance. What we could have done with some Chekhov in a week or 10 to rehearse. Adrian was a superlative actor, yes. But more than that, what was clear to me in our brief time together was that he was something much rarer. He was a superlative human being, a virtuoso of the human condition, a master of connection, a wizard of the moment. Each day I spent with him, I went home feeling grateful to know him just a little better.
Around. Ready and running man.
This is so weird.
Please welcome Mark Oristano.
Thank you. You've heard a lot of great stories about Adrian, and obviously you're going to hear a lot more. But I'm going to kind of narrow my focus and speak to an audience of just one, my bagel buddy, Miranda. Hi, Mar. We're bagel buddies. We both love bagels. But when my shiksa buddy over there, you know what a shiksa is, right? A blonde-haired, blue-eyed, non-Jewish girl who's every Jewish boy's dream. You're a shiksa. It's a badge of honor. When my shiksa bagel buddy has a bagel, an onion bagel with lox and a schmear. For those of you who speak New York deli, you're more Jewish than I am. Once a month for many years, your dad and I would go to our favorite coffee place in East Dallas, Layla's Great Kolache. And we would have wonderful conversations about everything under the sun. Of course, we gossiped about the theater because we're both old theater biddies. And we talked about people he worked with in Canada and my work in the sports world and his motorcycle and my riding. And they were just wonderful conversations with tons of laughter. But when his condition grew more serious, so did our conversations. He talked a lot about his family and how much his family meant to him. I learned about Snack Baggy, by the way. I know that. But his family meant so much, you and Joe and Joan and Rima, everybody, the whole mishpacha. And he talked about how incredibly proud he was of you and about the wonderful young woman that you've become and what you've accomplished. You're dancing. French, learn French, oui. Mais le français, c'est très important pour une jeune fille de Canada, n'est-ce pas? Vraiment? And he also talked about the fact that sometimes your talks became kind of heated and angry when you railed against the unfairness of it all. And he said sometimes you even had arguments with your mother, and I said, oh my goodness, a teenage girl arguing with her mother, I'm shocked. But at one of our last meetings, he said something that really surprised me. He said, I only hope that after I'm gone, Miranda doesn't forget me. And I said, no. Not going to happen. He said, first of all, she hasn't forgotten Augie, and he's been gone for a while now. And so what is the point of all this? Well, let me offer a generalization. And as we all know, most generalizations are true. My generalization is that I believe most people take life in tiny little sips. They have a little straw that they filter life experiences through. And maybe they find a project they're interested in and they go to it and they take a little sip through their straw and they say, well, that's really interesting, but I'm not smart enough to do that. Or maybe it's an artistic project and they take a little sip through their straw and they say, oh, that's, I don't have the talent those people have. I couldn't do that. They just take little sips. Not your dad. He took life in great big gulps. He designed big, he cooked big, he laughed big. He designed a set for the first indoor production of Shakespeare Dallas, Hamlet, on this very stage. It was a great show. T.A. and I were both in it. And when you build a set here, you can't nail anything to the stage. It all has to be freestanding. And look at this big space. He filled this up with an iron, multi-level jungle gym set. And we ran on it, and we sword fought on it, and we hung from it, and it never even wiggled because he had it so well thought out that it was perfectly balanced. And one of the greatest things about his bigness, if I can coin a word, is that when you were with him, he made you feel big too. It was infectious and joyous. Now, of course, the worst has happened, and we're all here trying to come to terms with it. But again, remember that he was so proud of you and what you've become. Your life is unfolding. You finished high school. You're now heading off to college. And all of us here wish you love and peace and happiness and bagels. And I would ask only one thing of you, and that's as your life continues to unfold in front of you. Don't take little sips. Take great big friggin' gulps.
Please welcome Clay Wheeler.
Hi. This is a theme you've heard already a few times this afternoon. If you're wondering what I'm doing up here, then you and I are attempting to solve the same puzzle. Who am I to the giant that was Adrian Churchill? Why me? What gives me the authority to speak about a man who meant so much to so many? And the simple answer that's been staring me in the face, I feel a little jealous of those who've known for a while. I got an email about a week ago from Jenny saying that I asking me to do this. The simple answer staring me in the face is that Adrian chose me, which is something that I think a lot of us can say in lots of contexts, that he chose us. If you were fortunate enough to be his friend, and why on earth would you be here if you weren't? Then you know that to love him and to be loved by him was a very special thing. Adrian doled out his love fiercely and freely. He found a little room in your heart that you never knew existed. He walked in, he flipped the light on, he unrolled his cot, sat down, and he stayed there forever. It feels impossible to imagine that I meant to him even half of what he meant to me. We met almost 15 years ago in the summer of 2011, and he was not much older then than I am now, which is hard for me to fathom. Life comes at you fast. I was young and inexperienced, but also very serious and overconfident, and wanted to please everyone and make sure that I was just so impressive. In other words, I was 25 and insufferable. And if you knew me then, I am so sorry. It's a theme to write back. I'm grown up now. It was my first summer at the park, and I was acting in As You Like It and driving mostly everyone crazy, except maybe Jenny and Joe. And for no good reason at all, Joe, who was starring in that show and very intimidating, that's a word at least a few of us have already used to describe her, and just stunning, was so kind to me throughout the process for no reason at all, because that's who she is, and made me feel safe. It's a scary thing to be on a stage like that for the first time, and she made me feel safe. Also, I'm a huge crybaby, so I'm doing really well so far. I'm gonna pat myself on the back, because this is about me and not Adrian. Just kidding. All right. It is hard to write about something. I didn't write this, what I'm going to say right now. That's great. It's good eulogizing here. So it's very hard to write about another person that you love without, and this is, I guess, the theme, like writing about yourself, which feels inherently selfish, but it really is about how you related to that person and the impact they made on you. So we'll get to that with Adrian. So at the same time, I was producing a show through my scrappy little theater company. We were called Rite of Passage. We still exist in theory for FIT. And yeah, we asked a buddy of mine named Robert Askins to send us a bunch of his unproduced plays. And we settled on a play that we all loved that was very weird called Love Song of the Albanian Sous Chef. That was the full title of that show. And I was in As You Like It at the time, so I handed the directing reins to my best friend, Caliban. And we had a lot of discussion over who was going to play this sous chef, this main role. And Adrien, his name came up immediately. He was like our pie-in-the-sky choice to play this role. And I didn't really know him at all. And we all kind of thought, why on earth would this guy agree to do this show? Like, he's actually like a real act. No disrespect to the other people in that show. They were all good. But they were young. They were like us. They were like, hell yeah, here we go. And Adrian's like a real actor, and he had this impressive resume, and I was like, what business do we have as 25-year-olds to ask this dude to come and do our little quirky, weird festival show? And what I think now is, boy, how little we knew this guy. It was a very easy, immediate yes, and he dove in with both feet. Sorry, it was a total commitment from him. The show was a sleeper hit at the festival and ranks among my proudest artistic achievements, and we'll circle back to it at the end. When you become a parent, not a parent, but a parent, which is something I consider to be the supreme privilege of my life, you realize that you subconsciously all along have been sort of absorbing parenting ethos from everyone around you that you respect and admire. And this is where I'll start crying, because I'm talking about being a dad. And when I became a dad, nearly 8 years ago, Adrien reached out to me and told me that I was doing an awesome job. And parenting is terrifying at first, and always. And every choice that you make, especially at the beginning, feels like you're making the wrong one. And I mean, how could he have possibly known that I was doing an awesome job? He was obviously lying. No idea what I was doing. His confidence in me was baffling, and, I keep losing my spot. This is going really well, really, really well. His confidence in me was baffling, but it came with the advice that became the linchpin of fatherhood for me, and this is a direct quote from Adrien. The greater good of your family is the best investment you will ever make. And what I finally realized is that the reason Adrien knew that I would be a great dad is because, for better or worse, he saw himself in me, and through his own fatherhood, he ensured a strong path for me to follow. And I think dad might be my favorite word in the English language, and I think for Adrien it'd be up there too. Maybe not his favorite, but I think it's up there. He was an amazing father to Mira, first and foremost, but in a sense, he was a dad to so many my age and younger as well. And I think you heard that a little bit in what Parker said, which was beautiful. Just there was this fatherness to Adrien that we all felt. He literally played my dad on stage in The Winter's Tale, and how lucky am I to be able to say that. This was on the heels of playing business partners in The Farnsworth Invention at Theater 3, directed by Jeff Schmidt. And I got to be the other half of a stage duo with him, not once, but 2 different times in my life, and that's so special. Not one time did he treat me like I was 20 years his junior. Many times did we endure dirty looks for talking, cutting up, and just general grabassery during rehearsal, or perhaps for little teeny tiny dares to each other before hitting the stage, dying to make each other break when the inspiration struck. Just a little look here or there. To this day, when things get too serious in a rehearsal, I'll raise my hand in a silly way and say, acting, which is something that we said a lot, and maybe he said to you as well. Adrian saw himself in so many of us and saw past who we were in his infinite wisdom, born of years of defeat, heartache, joy, and victories, to see the people that we would become. This summer, I had the pleasure of gracing the stage for the first time in many years, as I generally keep to the business of teaching and child rearing in the wilds of the North Texas suburbs. But the stars aligned, and I found myself back at the park, this time almost 40 years old instead of 25, surrounded by an eager cast of mostly younger folks. Those my age, we spent the summer on a huge nostalgia hit of like, remember when we were, this is us? And the whole summer, Adrian was in my heart and on my mind, his kindness, his camaraderie, his friendship. If I could give an ounce of that back to those in a younger phase of life than me, what a gift that would be. And so, I did my best to live like Adrian in my own way. To close, I want to return to sous chef, which Adrian later told me was one of his favorite roles in a career packed with them. In revisiting emails, I saw a request to start rehearsals a little bit later so he could help get Mira to bed on time. And that is an ask that is not dissimilar to one that I made this summer to do the show so that I could be with my own kids. I saw Adrian passionately arguing for the inclusion of important dialogue in the show with an artistic ferocity I recognize in myself. I remember a man who came alive as he gave his closing monologue each night, which, to me, distills Adrian to his very essence. His love of theater, of acting, of food, was in many ways a love song to all of us. So I'm going to read this. Please note that the Albanian dialect is written into the text, so please don't cancel me. I do not have the joie de vivre or the charisma to pull it off like he did, but I think it's important dialogue that sums up Adrian, so I'm going to attempt it if you'll indulge me. It's not John Donne, but it's something. I don't know. I cannot help heart. I don't know. Have to sing love song. Sometime it work, sometime I never see her again. I never cook that good again. Maybe I'm not meant to do these other things. Maybe I just sing no more, I don't know. But I did one time. I did one time and I still remember that. I still got my one time, my one love song. This it. This my love song. Goodbye. Thank you.
You shall pass, fellow difficulty. You shall see great difference betwixt thou, Bohemia, and yours.
I think this coming summer, the King of Sicilia needs to pay Bohemia the visitation which he justly owes him.
And in our entertainment shall shame us, for indeed.
Please welcome Jamal Sterling and Lee George.
Good afternoon. Adrian asked for Jamal and I to speak today because we got to know him well through the arts in our downtime and because, well, frankly,
Adrian said, and I quote, "I'd love if you and Lee went up there, each claiming to be my best black friend." He continues, he has more. And then I get like Denise Lee and Dennis Ravenel to bust you up. He said, look at me writing skits for my own damn memorial.
So in honor of Adrian, we'd just like to say here and now, We are indeed his best black friends. I'm trying to look each and every one of you black people in the eye so I can say that to your face. All right. No, but really, we're here because at some point, Adrien decided that we were worthy of sharing space and spending time with him.
I met Adrian. Hey, I met Adrian 12 years ago during a production of The Winter's Tale that Clay mentioned a minute ago. I have 3 main memories of him. We used to get into these huge musical conversations and arguments, and the biggest one was over the best hip-hop album. This is one that ended shortly. I said the best hip-hop album, and John Flores will agree with me, is Blowout Comb by Diggable Planets. And he said, that's my favorite album too. And on the outside, I said, great. On the inside, I said, how does white boy know about Diggable Planets? Number 2, I remember meeting Joe and a 5-year-old Miranda in the pavilion and watching them interact as a family and loving how much they loved each other. I remember during Winter's Tale, we had this one scene every night where Adrian would walk down this giant rake on stage right before Ian Ferguson would sing this incredible song with his beautiful voice. And he was given the direction by Renee Moreno, rest in peace, to just greet me. And he decided every single night he was going to give me the biggest, giant Adrian hug. Like, big enough, I'm a big dude, big enough to lift me off my feet. And every night of the show, always real, always authentic, full of genuine love. Adrian was a walking giant hug to everyone. He was comforting and encouraging, and he was always a champion of you. My wish for everyone here is to see themselves how Adrian saw them.
I got to meet Adrien a few years later to do one of my first professional gigs, The Royale, a play mentioned so much today that I think it's safe to say it was the best production in Dallas history. In that cast, it was just 4 black actors and Adrien. So it was 5 black actors coming together to do this show. And the thing that struck me the most about Adrien, like Jamal and so many other folks have said, was his generosity. I got to share this story recently at Shakespeare Dallas in remembrance, but I'm gonna share it again because it is one of the moments where I fell in love. During the Royale, I didn't have a car, and so every night Adrien would drive me home, and every night we would get lost. It would usually take us about 30, 35 minutes to get to my place, and I lived about 10, 15 minutes away. And a few years later, he had mentioned that the first few times that he had gotten lost were genuine, but that the last few times weren't, and he just wanted to spend time. And looking through old text messages, as we are all wont to do right now, one of our last conversations about a year ago, now that I do ADR directing for anime, he asked if there was a day player role just to come in for a dying man. And I said, I'll be on the lookout. And he said, love you. It's just a way to hang out. And he was always that to me, just wanting to hang out. He made sure that generosity continued even after the Royale closed. Over the years, he gave me tools for my craft, fatherly life advice. He gave me this sweater because he...
Sexy.
You can't make me blush and cry, this is weird. Because he had it lying around and he randomly had the thought that I might look good in it. Stop. This is too much.
You so sexy.
When he needed someone to cover for his classes for Booker T, he said if Sasha Davis couldn't do it, that he thought I might be good because he thought, for whatever reason, that I might have something to give. He was always pushing people in directions where you didn't know you could go, and he saw things in you that you didn't think were there. For example, and this is true, the last time I saw Adrian, he gave me these handcuffs because he thought that I was...
What we're trying to say is, Adrian saw the best and brought out the best in people. This is true on stage and in real life. And while it was an honor to walk the boards with him because he was a stone-cold professional who always worked from a place of compassion, it was a greater honor to be his friend and to get to know and love Joe and Miranda.
Joe, you are the real deal through and through. It is an honor to call you a friend, and watching you love Adrian is a beautiful thing, and we love you.
And thank you, Joe, for carrying me through the last scene of Othello. Really, I should have been acting, but I'm literally just watching you like, damn, she's good. But that probably wasn't good. I'm sorry, Mason York. And to Miranda. I've had the privilege of getting to teach you over the last 2 years at Booker T. I've had the chance to watch you use grace and humor and confidence in what had to be the most difficult time in your life. You came to school every day focused and ready to work. You also made plenty of time to make fun of me, which I appreciated. Your dad gave me the mandate to look out for you, and that's what I intend to do. You are a living testament to how beautiful your parents are. And a quick correction, because you probably don't know this. I know I give Canada a whole lot of shit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so it's a natural thing, but I secretly love Canada with all my heart. If you grew up in Detroit, Detroit's really hood, and Canada's really nice. So to all the Canadians who are out here, I apologize for all the things I've said about Canada, because we're probably gonna have to move there soon, but that's another story.
And we will leave you with a portion of the poem When Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves.
And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Space is filled with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whispered to us. They existed, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Thank you.
Please welcome T.A. Taylor.
The Tempest, Adrian made the breakaway staff for Prospero to break his staff over his leg when he's finished. And he brought me the prototype, and I broke it over my left leg, and I still have a scar. I said, I think it's a little tight, Adrian, I think a little looser there. Theater. You know, I looked at where I was in the speaking order, and I thought, okay, My wife. I'm going to listen to these people that speak before me, all of them from the theater. I'll hear, okay, throw that away. Yeah, oh, said that. Okay, yeah. So I watched the speech get smaller and smaller, as we went along. And so I'm going to focus a little bit on the back end. But I heard the word at least 3 times tonight that I think of most when I think of Adrian, and that's generosity. I have a sweater. He gave me one too. I went to pick him up for coffee, and he came out and said, "You should have this. This will look good on you." I'm like, "Thank you, Adrian." But that was Adrian. What can I do for you? You should have. How about if he was a collaborator, he was a contributor, he was a yes and, as the improv people like to talk about, kind of guy. And I recognized early on, after the first Trump administration, I had to get off of Facebook. I said, if I stay here, I'll get a letter from the CIA. But in the early days, when Adrian would post the photographs of the breakfast that he had made for Miranda and Joe to have in bed, and I thought, wow, what a great guy. I didn't always know if that was going to be the case. I met Joe in 1997 doing Twelfth Night at Shakespeare Dallas, and she was new to town, and then she was gone, and then she came back with this guy. You weren't even married yet, were you, when you did that play reading? Yeah, we're doing a play reading at Gretchen Dyer's house, and Joe came in with this guy, and Augie was still alive, so certainly there was a paternal figure to make sure that, this guy's okay. But I thought, just in case, I got you back, Augie. And then they went away and met Elvis in Las Vegas and came back married. And then came the shining star. Here came Miranda. And I was saying to Jeff Schmidt tonight before we started, I said, I look at you, you look at me, we've known each other for this number of years, and we have aged parallel. So I'm no older than I was. But then some kid comes along. And Miranda, I watched forever as the little tap dancing demon, playing everywhere. And then she was out of sight for a couple of years. I don't know why. She wasn't out of sight. I didn't see her. And then she came running up to me one night at Shakespeare Dallas and said, "TA, who the hell are you?" So Miranda, no, Miranda said, So, we've had lots of conversations about your college education. Your father and I wanted to be able to do anything for Adrian that I could, as I knew many people did. And so I said to Joe, I'm not going to make you crazy, calling you up every week going, what can I do, what can I do? You'll call me. And while Adrian was still driving, still getting around, but I thought, when he announced to the world on social media, I have terminal cancer. And I'm not posting this for you to tell me you're sorry or to pity me. I'm posting this because I want you to go get a colonoscopy. And I thought, wow. How do you say no? Yeah, I know, it's a colonoscopy, but how do you say no? And the truth is, my medical condition indicated that I should have them regularly, and I hadn't, because I was on medication. They said, you can't do that and do this. I said, all right, well, I'll wait. And I had just gotten off that medication when Adrian posted that. So I called and scheduled the colonoscopy, And they came in and said, well, we took a couple of polyps. They're probably okay, but there's one in there we don't like the look of. So we're going to send you to a specialist. And I went to this incredible doctor at UTSW, and he said, you got me because I'm the only one that does what I do. And I'm going to do it for you. And he did. And he came in and he says, the good news is we got it all. And I think you'll be fine. And I thought, God, Adrian, if I hadn't gotten that admonition, it would have been very easy to say, no, thanks. Give it to, let Oristano have it, So in many ways, I found myself saying, I owe you my life, Adrian. What can I do for you? No, I can't do anything for me. Came out to the house in the pickup truck. And Guy and I moved down to Lancaster 20-some years ago, and big piece of land on a river that floods. And I've got a very large garden out there, which is why we moved out there. And Adrian came out in the truck, and he was looking at the garden. He and Miranda had come out to the house a year or two before that, and I'd given him some plants to take home and plant. And Adrian looked at the garden, he says, I know what that needs. And it's a path that goes over around the house. And at the corner of the path is a little memorial that I made to my late sister, who was an Anglican priest. And Adrian showed up about a week later with the 2 Gothic arches that he made for the production of Hamlet that Christy Vela directed with Jenny Liddell as Hamlet. He was very proud of them because he had to learn to weld differently than he had welded before. He had to make these peg sets that he could bend the steel on to have everything right, and they belong on that path, TA. And I said, okay. So he showed up with the short one, about this tall, and I have a picture of him, which I didn't get to you in time to put in the slides. He's standing inside the arch, smiling. And we got it up, and then a year later, we got the big one up. And he looked at my sister's memorial again. He said, that's really nice, what you did there with the driftwood and yeah, that's nice. And March 3rd of this year, he was ready to go to coffee. He didn't want to go with a lot of people. In hindsight, I think Adrian had 3 years in purgatory. I took him to one of his early chemo sessions when Joe and I were doing Tempest and saw how devastating that treatment was. And the toll it took. And when he finally decided to stop treatment, he said he had a doctor who was a straight shooter and told him how he would die. And he explained it to me. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and that'll be it. I said, wow, that's nice, I guess, to know. So he figured he wasn't going to be here very long. And, Adrian was already playing with house money. Adrian had a brain aneurysm when it was in his 30s, Joe. And it probably should have killed him. And it definitely damn near did kill him. And it didn't. And that's, if you see in some of those pictures, the tattoo on his arm of the cat with the 9 stars for the 9 lives, and he had one of them already marked out. So he knew. So we began to go to coffee every week. And I've been in the theater for 65 years now, and am a firm believer in, this is a generalization, that acting is not a business that attracts happy, healthy, well-adjusted people. You see all the hands go up? Yay! But it's not, because this is not normal. That's why there are only 10 of us up here and 250 of you out there. Oh, I couldn't get up there and do that. And then we got up here when we were 8, when we were 7, and went, oh, Yeah. And here we are. And Adrian and I began to talk about that. And I thought, as I listened to him, and I began to learn more about him than I ever knew before. Because before, everything was about the theater or about Joe and Miranda. But I worked with Adrian a lot on the sets that he built, on 2 of the sets that he designed. I acted with him on stage. I got to watch him act. The Albanian Chef was one of my favorite shows that I ever saw Adrian in. I thought it was charming. And so we began to talk about us, and I made that comment about happy, healthy, well-adjusted people, and Adrian began to talk about a less than idyllic childhood. And say, oh, yeah, I know that one, right? You know, we're comparing these notes. But the coda to that statement is, but many of us do become happy, healthy, well-adjusted people. We marry, we parent, we teach. And I looked at Adrian constantly looking for the opportunity to do something for somebody else. Always. And I thought, you know, that's just the word. Generous. Generous is the word for Adrian. We last went to coffee 2 weeks before he died. When Joe called me the morning that he died, I went out in the garden, and lo and behold, Adrian had suggested what I might want to plant on those 2 arches. But you'll do what's right to you. I know because it's your garden. Right? But maybe roses. And I thought, okay, we got 2 arches. We got Shakespeare. We'll do a red rose of Lancaster and a white rose of York. Works. And I went out, and there were 3 brand new blossoms on the small arch. Thank you, Adrian. Adrian lost a lot of weight there towards the end, and I think was very prudent to say, I'm not going to go out and buy a new wardrobe. I'm giving them away. You got your sweater? Yeah. But consequently, his pants got a little loose, ish. You know, we went to coffee for 5 months, and I have a Honda Prius, a Toyota Prius, a low car. So when he would get out of the car, it was kind of like this. And the jeans kind of fit like plumber's jeans. And so what he would say to me every day when he got out of the car to go in the house, and what he said the last time I saw him, the last thing he said to me, just say no to crack.
Okay.
You want happy, stupid Adrian again? Ah!
Come on, that was cute.
All right. I'm a Muppet. Ha ha ha.
Don't play like this is not what our degree is in.
Uh-huh.
What did y'all say earlier for this one?
I've never had one of these. Delicious.
Please welcome Shakespeare Dallas board member Lauren York.
If TA felt like everything had been said, imagine how I, a lawyer, feel going right now. I'm honored to speak, but like Clay, felt a little confused when Adrian asked me. And I literally just said, okay, I guess I'll do that, and then didn't think about it. Luckily, for some time, as you all know, he defied his expectations of life, and every day was both heartbreaking and a gift. But as I prepared for this, I looked back at our text messages together, and something that stuck out to me was that he described our relationship as sometimes wholly business and sometimes wholly fun. So as Jenny said, I've served on the Shakespeare Dallas board since 2015. Adrian called me the Shakespeare Dallas fixer. I didn't really like that very much. The connotation for a lawyer perhaps seems a bit unsavory. I will admit, Sometimes when I get a call from a staff member at Shakespeare Dallas, I look at the phone, I take a deep sigh, and I brace myself. He was comfortable also with conciliary, and that is where we landed together, sort of. Regardless, Adrian and I shared a deep love for Shakespeare Dallas and its mission. It was deeply important to him that the people who came to join us at Shakespeare in the Park were able to feel welcome, every single person, as if they were a member of the Shakespeare Dallas family. He lived the mission of Shakespeare Dallas every single day. Theater was transformative to him in his life, and he wanted to pass that gift on to the next generation of individuals here in Dallas. He wanted every single person here to share in the love of what Shakespeare Dallas does. And he was just as comfortable in the bunker, fixing the pipes. I'm very sorry that continues to be an issue. We are addressing it, I promise. As he was visiting with elected officials and dropping off chocolates at very high-level donors that were very important, and he would call and give me a full report of their house and what they had on and their shoes. I'd like to share a note I received from Vanya Mondell, the City of Dallas Park and Recreation Board member who represents District 2, where Shakespeare Dallas's artistic home at the Samuel Grant Amphitheater is located. Adrian was one of a kind, a truly wonderful, dedicated person who lived to make a difference in our world and did it with grace and kindness. May his memory always fill us with joy and positivity. Shakespeare Dallas calls itself the People's Theater, and Adrian made that real. He was and will always be the heart of this Shakespeare Dallas community, and we will never be able to replace him. But on behalf of the Shakespeare Dallas staff and the board, we will ensure that we honor Adrian's legacy. We will make theater, we will invite people in, we will listen, and we will amplify the contributions that Adrian made to all of us. Now in my notes, I've written holy fun, which is the second part of the text message, holy business to holy fun, but as I shared, a lawyer, fun, it's iffy. I've read so many stories and memories from so many people who loved Adrian, and we heard them today over and over of the incredible things he did to make people's lives better. And as I thought about why would Adrian want me to get up and speak for him, I realized it's because Adrian saw me and the way he saw so many of us as our very best selves. When he told me he had cancer, I did this. I do this, perhaps not very, I'm not a trial lawyer anymore because of this reason, I assume. My father was born the same year as Adrian. My father died of cancer 10 years ago. And when he told me he had cancer, I just knew we'd be here and I'd be doing this. And he said, "It is wonderful that you would cry for me. It is wonderful that I mattered to you. And the fact that I am the one receiving comfort from him as he's the one telling me that he has cancer is who Adrian is and who he was and what is truly irreplaceable." I have twin 5-year-olds, Judith and Henry. Adrian and Joe both spent much time with them. It is uncanny, as I've shared with all of the Schellenbergs today, how much my daughter looks like a young Miranda. That video on the carousel could have been her. So I told Judith, Mr. Adrian passed away. And she paused. She told me, even though she was shy of him sometimes, and he was exceptionally loud, he was a very kind guy. And Adrian's kindness is what I will remember forever. And I hope that we may all strive to pass that kindness along one person at a time. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Simon Webb.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Je vais vous adresser en français cet après-midi parce que ça me tente. Just kidding. It's just Adrian wouldn't have forgiven me if I didn't open with something stupid like that. Anyway, my father was very good friends with a guy named Gordon. They were very close. And Gordon had custody on weekends of his son. So one weekend, Gordon came over to our place to visit, and he brought his son along. And I was really shy at first, but eventually went up to this kid at my house, and I said, "Hi, I'm Simon." And this kid looks at me and says, "Where's Says?" And now, that's not a funny joke, guys, okay? You know that. But to me, it was hilarious, because this was 1972 and we were 6 years old. Okay? So from then on, we were immediately close. We were just on the same level, really, I thought. Same sorts of sense of humor and everything. And our families stayed close. So, we used to do everything together. Our parents used to take us to bars on Friday nights. True story, it was the 70s. What are you going to do? So we'd sit at the bar with a Coke next to some chain-smoking old dude, while our parents argued about, sex and politics and whatever, I don't know. So we bonded as children over watching Monty Python's Flying Circus. Our parents made us watch that at about 11:30 on Friday nights. True. And then after his first mother died, he moved in with Gordon, who had remarried, and John, his brother John, came along, and but as families, we stuck together, and we did everything together. They would come to our family cottage in the summertime. We just have the greatest time as kids, just doing all kinds of stupid kid things, Basically, our entire lives, we grew up side by side. Even after his family had moved from Montreal to Toronto, we stayed close. We grew up side by side. We became young men together. We traveled through Europe in a converted old British Telecom van, picking up hitchhikers and feeding them on the way through. Everything's a true story. We started working in the arts and entertainment field together at the same time. Not together, but independently, but together. We got into plenty of trouble. We were together when I was arrested for drunk driving, and we were together when he was arrested for being drunk and disorderly. And I'm sure he's proud of that. I'm not proud of the drunk driving, but long time ago. And I always looked up to him because he was larger than life. He was a giant in my eyes. I remember one time we were in London at a pub having a drink, and he started telling me about how much he envied me, and the fact that I sang in a band, and that girls seemed to like me, and I was funny, and I was like, "What the hell are you talking about, dude? You are enormous. You are girls like you. You're the charming and personable one. I want to be more like you." I could not believe it. So anyway, all this to say that I have so many stories. I have 53 years worth of stories to tell about Adrian. Feel free to ask me about some of them. I will regale you with stories of adventures and trouble. But I'll just leave you with this one story, and it's a little weird and kind of dumb, but anyway. In the 90s, I was at my girlfriend's apartment watching Dances with Wolves on VHS. I hate that movie. It's a stupid movie. It did not deserve to win the Academy Award because it was up against Goodfellas, okay? Come on. Anyway, I'm watching this stupid movie and I'm hating every minute of it. But then, at the end of the movie, Kevin Costner's character has to leave the tribe. So he's riding away, and up at the top of a mountain, another tribesman appears and yells, "Don't you know that I am your friend? Don't you know that you will always be my friend?" And in that moment, I actually thought about my relationship with Adrian and how we were just really close friends. I really thought of that. Really, because our friendship, had no rules. It was just pure. We were just friends. So, anyway, today, I'm that guy on the mountaintop. And I'm shouting those words to him. Anyway, thank you.
Please welcome Rena Schellenberg.
Something years ago, Adrian and I became work friends, and then about 20-something years later, we became siblings when Joe and he married. His attention, generosity, love, his infectious joy have enriched my life immeasurably, and I'm so grateful. I'll read from a novel he and I both loved, The Leopard by Giuseppe de Lampedusa. The main character is on his deathbed, and these are his last words. He was making up a general balance sheet of his whole life. On the credit side, grains of gold mixed with earth. He glimpsed a woman in a brown traveling dress and suede gloves, mingling amid the crowds, seeming to search for his exhausted face through the dirty compartment window. Someone was feeling his pulse. From the window came the blinding reflection of the sea, its crashing. Around him was a little crowd, a group staring at him with frightened expressions. But gradually he recognized them. And suddenly, amid the group, appeared the young woman, slim, in a brown traveling dress with a wide bustle, a straw hat trimmed by a speckled veil, which could not hide the sly charm of her face. She slid a little suede-gloved hand between one elbow and another of the weeping kneelers. She apologized, drew closer. It was she, the creature forever yearned for, coming to fetch him. Strange that one so young should yield to him. The time for their train's departure must be very close. When she was face to face with him, she raised her veil, and there, modest but ready to be possessed, she looked lovelier than she ever had when glimpsed in stellar space. Then the crashing of the sea subsided altogether.
Rufus, get off the bed. Rufus, come on. Get off the bed. Rufus, 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 Rufus, get off the bed. Go on, get off. Rufus, get off the bed. Rufus, get off the bed. Come on, get off.
Such a jerk.
And now, Nicole Borostiquin will perform Caliban from Adrian's very favorite play, The Tempest.
A brief note about this speech. Me and Joe were performing in the show a handful of years back for Shakespeare Dallas, and Joe as Prospero and myself as Caliban. I knew how much he loved The Tempest, but did not know how much he was enamored, fascinated, and intrigued with the character of Caliban. And we would spend hours debating over character choices and theories and ideas, and as he did what I think a lot of actors here in Dallas in different plays. And then he told me that he loved this speech. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what, every night I do this speech on the stage, I'll be saying it to you. And that doesn't mean you need to be there, but know I'm saying it to you. And if I was lucky, I'd be on the stage and I'd look out to the back of the hill and I'd catch his silhouette, backlit by the lights, and I knew he was there watching. And I think he wanted me to say this speech here today, not just to him up there in that big pie in the sky, but also this is from him to all of you. Be not afeared. The isle is full of noises, sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometimes voices that if I then had waked after long sleep, will make me sleep again. And then in dreaming, the clouds methought would open and show riches ready to drop upon me, that when I waked, I cried to dream again.
Now for our finale, please welcome to the stage Adrian's beloved wife, Jo, who also happens to be one of our most acclaimed and talented actors, and also the light of Adrian's life, their daughter, Miranda.
First of all, I just want to say thank you. There are people here, sorry Tina, but could you stand up? People have come from not only Montreal, but there are people here from Toronto and other places. Could you please stand up? I know there's people who are here. I know they are. Stand up. So, thank you for being here. Thank you all. Thank you everyone who may be watching. So TA had a hard job, Lauren had a hard job, but I might as well just throw this away because absolutely everything that has been said here tonight is something that I experienced. Let me try. I know that Adrien would most definitely be in awe of this group here today and elsewhere. It might even make him speechless, but I doubt it. It's hard where to start with Adrien. I mean, we only get one pass at this, but it seems like Adrien really knew that. He got the message early in life. I mean, he hit the ground running, sometimes to get to somewhere, but sometimes to get from somewhere. But he hit the ground running. I fell in love with Adrian a long time ago, and I was blessed and lucky enough to see 23 years of sunrises and sunsets married to him. We built our life together, sometimes out of chewing gum and paper clips, but we built it. We opened our hearts to each other and let the beautiful and ugly pieces spill out. He was bullheaded and brilliant. I think somebody else said that. He drove me crazy. And he was so goddamn smart, pissed me off. I mean, you know, you're smart, right? No, he was really, really smart. But I always learned something. He was mischievous. Anybody who's looked at him in the eyes knows that little glint that's, I know something you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you yet. He enjoyed a good argument. Life with Adrian was breathtaking, vulnerable, dark, wild, passionate, intense, extreme, and very full. We brought baggage with us. It was heavy baggage. He brought with him the experience of profound loss at a very young age, the tattoo on his left arm, a heart with Mom ×2 on it. It spoke volumes. When he smiled, you could see his soul. I met the fragile little boy within who was so difficult to comfort, but who I was lucky enough that sometimes he felt safe enough to emerge so I could hold him. For better or for worse, he was a romantic. He'd show up sometimes at my auditions unexpectedly just to walk me back to his apartment. Sometimes he even washed my hair. From him, I learned that the best way to love a pet is to lie right on the floor with them until you're nose to nose. I mean, he even managed to change my perspective, and I had dogs on my bed, dogs on my kitchen table. I mean, the dogs were everywhere. When we first became a duo, he surprised me by exchanging his multi-station workout machine for an antique dresser, which he put in his bedroom, making a place for me. Thank you, Daryl, for walking it down Queen Street with him. I don't think Daryl really knew how to take me at first because I kind of just ensconced myself into Adrian's life. And he knew we had a history from way back in terms of knowing each other, but he was like, I don't know about this gal. But I think I've made myself in your life regardless. I'm here, so there you go. He moved me. He made me think. He moved to a country that was not his own and made incredible sacrifices, never complaining and never looking back. He always tried to do the right thing. Even when it was hard and even when no one would have blamed him for walking away. We never gave up on each other, even though there were many times maybe we should have. It's true, you can't control who you fall in love with, and unconditional love is sometimes really hard to process, and he gave unconditional love. The mosaic we created was eclectic, and it was beautiful. Adrian was the love of my life, except he fell short when it came to him. I mean, as people said, he worked through brain hemorrhage, broken fingers, a couple of misplaced steps resulting in injuries that will never heal. In sickness and in health. He had so much to share. I don't want to know what life is like without Adrian. He took a piece of me with him, but he left me so much. Till death do us part, it doesn't work for me. I will always want more. I love you, Adrian. What matters most is how well you walk through the fire. And I'll remember quiet evenings, trembling close to you.
Jesus Christ, Mom. When I was a little girl, my father owned a small green truck that he used to pick me up in from Fair Oaks Day School. It was old and rumbly. Its green exterior was chipped and fading, and the inside always kind of smelled like sawdust and his cologne. He would sit me down on the passenger seat, it was an old two-seater, and pull out a bag of Dum Dum lollipops. I liked the bubblegum flavor, so he would pick out each of those little pink ones for me, like my own little treasure of sugar on a stick. He kept the rest for himself, eating the flavors he didn't even like, buying as many bags of Dum Dums as he could so that he could continue to supply me with my fix of the pink ones. You know, he didn't even like Dum Dums. He just liked that I liked them. We wouldn't go home right away, though. Instead, he would drive the truck down the scenic routes. He loved those. Around White Rock Lake and open fields nearby. With windows rolled down, the wind would do our hair, and just one lollipop would turn into two, sometimes three, if I was lucky. The sun would turn golden, and we would sing the lyrics of Jolene by Dolly Parton, obnoxiously and very off-key. You see, my dad could sing. Sometimes in the early mornings when he feeds the dogs breakfast and makes coffee, he sounds exactly like Bobby Darin singing Somewhere Beyond the Sea. But neither of us sounded like Dolly Parton, so our version of Jolene was imperfect. We would forget the lyrics, but we both loved the riff of the guitar. So the truck would rumble along the roads of our neighborhood, Little Forest Hills, and with lollipop-stained tongues and laughter echoing out the window, we would arrive home. Our home. When the sun sets in our house, its rays shimmer through our giant oak tree in the front yard, creating a dance of light on the house where my father spent months of hard labor, building and painting and fixing up our little cottage so that I would have a safe place to grow up, where his selfless acts of love are coated on the walls and windows of our lovely home. This, I think, is one of my favorite moments of my existence. I mean, I'm in an old, beat-up truck, the sun is hitting my face, and good music is playing in the background. But really, I loved existing in this moment because I was existing with my dad. Those moments where the mere twinkle in his eye consumed me with feelings of safety, warmth, and love. I chose to share a memory, this memory with you all, because it is one of my first memories of my father and I. My memories with him are endless, impossible to count or speak about today, consuming the entirety of my life and fall around my brain like confetti. I am sharing a memory with you all because everyone already knows how great Adrian is. Everyone already knows how selfless he is, and caring and kind and funny and talented and passionate and smart and courageous and inventive and unique and strange and pretentious and boisterous and beautiful. Everyone knows Adrian Churchill. But me, I'm the only one that knows my daddy. He is the best daddy. He is my best friend. My biggest hero, and my truest love. I cannot begin to describe to you how much I love my father. I cannot begin to explain to you just how much he has sacrificed for me and my mom. You see, my biggest fear is that I am going to forget him, that I won't remember the sound of his voice, or how he smelled, or what color his eyes were, or the feeling of safety when he would wrap his arms around me into a big bear hug. So I have to relive my memories. I have to tell them out loud. To remember everything is impossible, though, so I am reminded as I age and my memories fade. When the sun hits my face and I close my eyes and I see my father in his old green truck, I may not remember what song we were singing, but I will remember the love. That he loved me and I loved him entirely, irrevocably, unconditionally. And that is all that remains. Our endless love for one another will remain. Wherever he may be, his love is right here.
That is what Adrien is leaving with us. This is Sonnet 119. We all know it was his favorite. What potions have I drunk from siren tears, distilled from limbecks foul as hell within, applying fears to hopes and hopes to fears, still losing when I thought myself to win. What wretched errors hath mine heart committed, while it thought itself so blessed never. How mine eyes out of their spheres been fitted amidst this distraction of this madding fever. O benefit of ill, now I see true that better is by evil still made better, and ruined love, when it is built anew, grows fairer than at first, more strong, far greater. So I return, rebuked to my content, and gain by ills thrice more than I have spent.
So the final line is, of all the troubles I've had in my life, I've gained from that more than the good I have spent. I don't know if we're defined by our adversity, but I have learned from my mistakes. I've become who I am because of some of the tough shit I've gone through. No matter what I've put into life, I've gained more from it. The human condition isn't suffering, but through suffering we can define our joys.
On the floating shipless oceans, I did all my best to smile till your singing eyes and fingers drew me laughing to your eyes. And you sang, said to me, let me unfold you. Here I am, waiting so.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there watching for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing.